A moment of significant change or a turning point, altering your course, is known as an inflection point. In business, these moments have a significant impact in many ways. That's why we're speaking with leaders from across the asset management industry to hear the stories of their inflection points and the impact they've had on their journeys. Join my colleague and host, Mark Spina, as we explore the business of being in business with insights that can help you wherever you may find yourself. This is Inflection Points.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Spina, President and CRO here at Flex Networks. I'm also the host of InFLXtion Points. I'm joined today by the one, the only Neil Bathon. Neil, good to see you.
Thank you, Mark.
So Neil is, as many of you know, managing partner at Fuse Research. Neil founded the firm many years ago. We're going to get into that founding. We're going to get into the life before founding Fuse, and really try to dive into what are some of the inflection points that have made Neil the person and business person he is today. How does that sound, Neil?
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. So we like to go back before we get into the professional realm. We like to take our guests into kind of some of the precursor, the more formative inflection points of their lives. So what would you say are some of the early days inflection points? Can you think of friends, family, schooling, activities, or adventures that maybe set you on a course to where you are today?
No.
Yes, you can.
All right. So
I know you can.
My path, at least in college and coming out of college, was to be the next Peter Lynch in terms of portfolio managers. That dream was dashed early on when I saw how the practice actually worked as a analyst at Kemper Financial Services. Supported a group of portfolio managers and saw how the decision-making went, and realized that wasn't going to be my calling.
We could go back further, though. Yes. I feel like there's a Gettysburg or origination story, and then maybe some Marquette for schooling. So maybe something in that domain.
All right. Grew up in outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and still have a wonderful group of friends. A lot of farming and shooting and hunting and fishing. A lot of outdoor activities. Was denied entry to pretty much every college I applied to, but Marquette granted me. I didn't actually know where Milwaukee was, but showed up there freshman year and made it through. As you found, you maybe played in high school, but I found the rugby team, and that was a wonderful place to develop relationships and played for another 10 years after college. So that was a big formative part of my college career.
How did you wind up at Kemper? And did you know you wanted to be in that space when you were doing your undergraduate work?
I believed that I would be an excellent portfolio manager in undergraduate. I had a professor a couple of times named Bill Landis, who went on into the business with various firms, actually in the Boston area. And I was so inspired by this guy, but went down to Chicago to go to grad school. I like to say I went to a university in Chicago, if you say it quickly enough, but I went to DePaul University. And in one of my classes was the head of HR at Kemper, and she was impressed with my wit and humor and probably piercing blue eyes. And therefore,
no doubt, all the above. Right.
Found me a entry-level analyst role at Kemper. So that's how things got rolling. During the interim, I was working at Zacks Investment Research, loading earnings estimates. And I began to see there how after the first release of earnings estimates, that they all combined into this tight little pack, and that it didn't seem like anyone was ever rewarded for being bold or outspoken. And then each year's top analyst rankings would be people who were right in the middle of the pack. And it just began to undercut some of my view of how portfolio management decisions were actually made.
So that's cool. I think there's two, as we look for inflection points. I think there's two there. I think one is the encounter with the person from HR. Like the odds of something like that are happening are kind of possible, but not high. And then the insight that you drew from that early role in terms of the earnings estimates and the kind of concentration or the high correlation amongst them. I think that's pretty cool. So take us forward from those early inflection points and insights. You then, what comes next?
What's the record for inflection points on this podcast?
You know what? We tend to see like 4 or 5, and 3 or 4 mostly positive. One that might inflect or take you on a negative trajectory. I would never, you probably don't have any of those, Neil, given the level you have ascended to. So but
how could you? Yeah.
Couldn't
have said that.
Yeah.
All right. So,
so you got to get to 6 to have to probably break the record.
So as the analyst supporting portfolio managers, their compensation was tied to how successful they were in getting the research team was in terms of getting the portfolio managers to use their selections.
Got it.
And I started monitoring, because I think I was the first computer user ever at Kemper. I started monitoring the performance of their picks as opposed to whether or not they actually made it into the portfolio. And the best analyst had no sales skills, and none of their picks would go into the portfolios. They didn't do the lunches with the PM teams or the parties or the outings. They just grinded away with the data. And that was frustrating to see that there wasn't a better connection between performance of the underlying selections. So that further undercut things. So I moved out of that department and into a competitive research product development role. And it was there that I realized that this function I was helping to develop didn't really exist at many other firms. Kemper was I think we're number 8 or number 9 in the total industry at the time. And I'd go to meetings, the ICI, and see my peers, and they just didn't have this function. So the person to whom I reported at Kemper and I decided to leave the firm, and I would be the back office number generating, report producing person, and she would be the salesperson. Unfortunately, I left and we thought it would take me 6 months to get things rolling. And at the 6-month mark, she decided not to join forces. So I was.
So we're piling up the inflection points here.
So I quit Kemper on October 1st of 1987. And within a few weeks, when the market crashed,
wow,
I went, I thought it might be good to try to get my job back, because I didn't see a lot of action for buying my services. And I was told that Kemper had processed my exit papers as quickly as had ever been done before. So there was no going back. So I was forced to be an entrepreneur.
Wow. I knew parts of that, multiple parts, but hearing it kind of connected in a chronological sequence is pretty
Fascinating.
Fascinating was the word I was striving for. So then you're in business in the fall of, or are you in business the fall of 1987, or does it take more time to actually stand it up?
It takes a little bit more time, but in 88, things were showing some signs of light, and I started to be able to set up meetings. Kemper still needed the work to be done, so they wound up being my first client. And after that, I basically relied on people feeling sorry for me to help me along. They would give such unbelievable guidance.
That's why we're here today.
To help me. Even my sales pitch was so terrible that people would say, look, that was a buying signal. You could stop now and we'll just be done with this meeting. But I had a script back and forth, and it was 10 pages long. And anyway, so people really helped out. They liked the notion of the product I was trying to sell, but I didn't have a clue as to how to position it or actually present it as a salesperson.
So you said, Neil, and having lived this myself now for the past 4 years, going into 5 years, you made that move to be an entrepreneur. You made the move to start your own business, that there was no looking back. Was there an inflection point whereby you said, hey, this is going to work, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Or was there a period of years where you're doing your business, you started your business, but you're looking back at Kemper and others and saying, hey, should I go back to being a corporate insider?
No, I never
No.
thought to go back. I had burned every bridge and so there was no real, I pretty much guaranteed that I would be an entrepreneur. But no, the firms started liking the service and started picking up some momentum. There were research firms on the fringe, like Lipper was just doing performance, and they already had hard copy reports, but they would give me their report every month or quarter and let me load the data into my data set. And anyway, I got a lot of help from a lot of people, and it was a grind. But no, as long as I had enough beer money on Friday, I was good for, actually a little side note. There were a couple of years where I probably would have had to seek other sources of income, except for I had season tickets to Notre Dame games, and I was able to sell most of them and cover rent. And
How did that happen?
a couple of sisters and a brother went there, so I had scored their tickets. So Notre Dame in 87, 88 saved the business from going under.
That's awesome. So you touched on other people, and look, I think you're widely seen by me in the marketplace as independent, self-made. But are there other people you looked at in that period as mentors or guides or kind of strong advocates that shaped your firm, your deliverables, some of the products you were offering?
Well, it's not a good story, but I had a friend at extra offices in downtown Chicago. So I move in, and there's three guys at the other end of the hall, and they're putting together these little books. Each couple of weeks, they send them out, and it's Joe Mansueto and Don Phillips and maybe John.
Come on.
Yeah. So I'm at one end of the hall, and they're at the other, kind of the masters of the industry research center of it. But anyway, and then the trajectories didn't go exactly in a parallel way. They obviously at Morningstar took off, but I did in the early days get to interact with them quite a bit and had a pretty keen sense of what they were building and where they were going and how they were doing it. I didn't have aspirations anywhere near the level they did. And they, I think, probably exceeded them all. So those guys definitely helped. But the clients were incredibly helpful, even people who didn't buy the service, in terms of refining it and offering guidance and pricing and positioning. Strategic Insights was out there. They had started about 9 months earlier. And so the whole notion of outsourcing competitive insights and market intel was starting to build more of a presence. So I used to talk to Avi quite a bit, but it was mostly the clients that were refining and guiding things.
What was the sales or business development cycle like in those days? It's more face-to-face, like you're largely not email oriented. You don't have a tech platform, but you're showing up, and is it the head of sales, head of product at the SMN, or head of marketing? Who were your buyers back then, and how has that evolved?
The ICI committees helped me connect to my counterparts in product support roles, product research, product development. And those people gave me the foot in the door to get to probably the head of sales or head of marketing. Yes.
Makes sense. How about this, Neil? When did you start to expand the firm in terms of when did it expand beyond Neil? And how was the employee growth? And in those early days, how did you decide if, when, and with whom would you add to the team?
I had a friend that I had worked with at Zacks Investment Research and went to Paul with, who was working at the U.S. Savings and Loan Institute just as they imploded. So he was a brilliant analyst, and he came on board as my second partner, so the second person on. And then for the first 80 through the probably mid 90s, probably one person a year just to kind of keep up with and relatively junior analysts. And Chicago had all kinds of investment firms to draw upon. So it wasn't very hard to find an analyst who wanted to do something a little different.
Nice. As we move along this historical journey, at some point you go from Chicago to Boston, right?
Yes.
What was the gravitational? Was it business? Was it personal? Was it a combination thereof?
It was personal. I had made a promise to my spouse that as of a certain point in time, the business would be at a certain level. If it wasn't, I would seek a partner. And I tried to get multiple extensions, and that they ran out. So it just wasn't. There was maybe 8 of us at this point in time, and it just wasn't robust. That's a good way to say it. Enough.
Can happen.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
you're aware of that.
Yep.
And then I found this company, Boston Institutional Group, that had a third-party distribution platform called Funds Distributor. Theirs actually worked. And they also had a software broker-dealer that could sell my research to firms. Actually, their big client was Brinson Partners, which has been gone for years and years. So they wanted market intelligence to share with their clients to help improve sales and marketing, and they had to software firm to be able to kind of sell it for trading commissions. So that was it. And then, there was a gentleman named Bill Nutt who had this business on one side, and his affiliate managers group was just beginning to come together on the other side. If he had placed me on that side of the business, we probably wouldn't be here today.
There's a couple of those that have happened so far. We had the Morningstar.
No, I'm aware of these. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Come on, you're an irreverent icon within the industry. It's not. There could be worse things.
I've been able to be independent. Yes, I could say things that maybe others aren't.
So let's go down that thread, right? I think with some humor, as you usually attach to things, you've been able to be irreverent in some ways, independent, thoughtful, and just call it as you see it. When did you feel like it was okay to be, that authentic, if you will, or that's how I know you, Neil. But was it always there?
It wasn't a conscious decision. It was a function of being devoid of any social skills that would help me improve or soften the delivery of my messages, which is ultimately what held the business back and made me sell it. But, and then I don't know if it was a rationalization or not, but it grew into clients wanted someone to give them very direct feedback. And if they were wrong, they wanted an independent voice for that, because firms just naturally develop a little bit of groupthink, and they are interested in having someone shake it up a little bit to give them a different way of doing things. And so whether it's true or not, I decided that was our brand, was to be this decisive, independent voice and offer unvarnished critiques of good and bad things happening at our client firms.
Makes total sense. And I think has mostly accrued to your benefit, would you say?
Well, it makes it easier to segment the marketplace when you know the ones you've upset and will never take your call. So, yeah. But we have had clients with us for 14, 15 years since the beginning of this version of it. So
go there. So what was, do you mind? Like the founding catalyst for what is today Fuse?
So Financial Research Corp, FRC, was the first version, sold that to Boston Institutional Group. They wound up selling to BISIS, which just fulfilled every fantasy I ever had about being owned by a transfer agent. And then that wound up being sold to Citibank. When they were selling to BISIS, I had another moment where I may have joined in with AMG, only to be told that BISIS desperately needed our services, and I was not free to go where I wanted. BISIS was bought by Citi. Citi was the absolute worst place for someone like me to be. Do you work with Citi? Because there might be some comments coming up that you might want to edit out.
We have broad connections with Citi, but you should feel free to. It was a long time ago. Let's say that they've potentially positively evolved since then. So take us back to what happened.
They haven't, but yeah, it's it was the worst. I didn't know anything about how to properly sell a firm, and I learned incredibly valuable lessons in the sale to BIG and then that sale to BICIS. When Citi owned FRC, it was clear that I had to leave as quickly as possible to everyone, really. So I took about 2 years of 2006 to 2008, kind of just did a little consulting work for firms I had deeper relationships with. And then FRC was a publication shop. It's crafted reports and monthly newsletters and sold them. This version is it's a market business intelligence firm, but it's all retainer based. And there's really very, very little one-off sales of anything, even consulting projects. Everything's designed full service, unlimited support for the retainer clients. So it's much more rewarding to be part of decision-making at our client firms as opposed to giving them reports that never see the light of day.
That's cool. That makes sense. What are there with maybe in this particular question and answer, keep it anonymous, but are there particular pieces of guidance or insight that you can point to as being kind of particularly differentiated and impactful?
I was early on pretty, how should I say this? Uncomfortable.
Amazing. No.
Uncomfortable with the notion that wholesalers were delivering as much value as they could or should. And I probably, because of a lack of maturity, blamed the wholesalers. I didn't realize until a little bit later, as I appreciated the role compensation played and management's oversight and guidance, I really should have been focused on divisionals and national sales managers for not extracting more value out of the wholesaling teams. And I mean, in my growth period, wholesalers did whatever they wanted, basically. And if they hit their number, and everyone pretty much was, they got paid really well. So ultimately I came to adjust that to say, it's the management of them, it's the metrics you use for guiding them that were wrong and out of sync. And they were, so this leads to the issue across every client, regardless of size, is they're not being very good at change. There are very few clients that we come across who don't really know what they should be doing that's different from where they are now, whether it's changing the product or pricing or elevating marketing to be more responsible for engagement or changing Salesforce engagement models. They know it. It's just they have such a hard time transitioning from where they were to where they should be. So change management I had no appreciation for it in the early days, and I think it's the key to success in almost all the firms we work with, effective change management.
We see similar. I think there's undoubtedly the intellectual capacity to see it. At least I see it that way. But I think that it's just such strong behavioral and economic inertia to continue doing the same things and in maybe slightly adjusted, but not meaningfully adjusted ways. Go ahead, let it rip.
I'm just saying these days when I help a client evaluate a problem, I start with the compensation model, or whoever is at the core of it, and you can figure out what they're going to do rather easily.
Whether it's personal incentives or product incentives, they play a strong role in the ability or willingness to change. So get us current. What's anything particularly exciting you're working on personally or as a firm?
Well, we've had a few things like this over the years. About a quarter of our business is supporting the fund boards. So not the management companies, but we had a client whose service provider abandoned them maybe 2 months before a board meeting, and we stepped in to help them out. And then it grew into a pretty nice business. So there's those, and it's just nice being in this situation where I could invest in something and give it a shot, and I don't have to worry if it doesn't pan out, then we're fine. I mean, I was going to make a reasonably significant investment trying to compete with McLaughlin, and I didn't realize how deeply entrenched they were, and I'm not going to displace them. So there was a fair amount of time and money wasted there, I guess. But things like that are yeah, I don't mind them. It's still very exciting because there's still new things to build out.
Is it okay if we talk about it? I think it's public, right? The work you're doing in the association space.
Oh yeah, that's reinvigorating also, or invigorating. The Investment Management Education Alliance, they about 9 months ago gave us the management contract, and largely they had a firm that got them going for about 30 years and worked with them, but they are looking for a different type of growth trajectory. And some of the ideas we had advanced for more philanthropic interest and
Cool.
building out the educational side, I think resonated enough for them to give us the management contract. So we have a team of 3 dedicated to that side of the business. And it's a neat place because it's sales, marketing, product, national accounts. It's all the people we tend to want to be in front of anyway that are part of the trade group.
I recently visited the website and it looked like it got a neat overhaul.
It did, yes.
Looks good. Good. Hey, let's
Thank
let's wrap up with this, Neil. Anything you're doing outside of Fuse and the professional environment that kind of provides you, let's say, inspiration, motivation, or just grounding, if not those, to keep doing what you're doing. So anything on the outside that keeps you going inside the professional environment.
Yeah, I mean, it might sound a little, we'll just go with it.
Go
I mean,
with
I
it.
love
We're here.
play. I used to play basketball a couple times a week with different groups. And as you get a little bit older and watch a number of people lose their Achilles tendon, that begins to fade. But so the pickleball I found my way to that. I love it. It's a blast. I mean, really, really good, which helps. And, but no, it's just a fun, easy to pick up thing that I've just really enjoyed quite a bit.
That's awesome.
Also,
See, wait, hang on to your also. I would have had you as a scathing pickleball critic, but we're surprised when we do these podcasts from time to time. So that's cool. Go ahead. You're also.
I have 2 sons that are in the business, and it's really neat to be able to discuss industry trends and developments with them. So it's just nice extra dimension. Both of them spent a little time at Fuse in their right after college, but yeah, it's been really a lot of fun to have that extra dimension in their relationship with them.
That's awesome. So thank you, Neil, for this tour down Bathon Lane, and I think we could do it again if you're open to it. Maybe.
No, I think this is good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
We'll do it again. So, hey, to our audience, I want to say thank you, Neil. A big thank you. A second moment of seriousness. Appreciate your time. We appreciate our listeners allowing you to occupy and potentially advance your mind space. Both are valuable. We're a work in progress as people in a podcast. Neil might not want to admit that, but I do. If you picked up anything of interest, please subscribe, leave a rating and a review. And until next time, keep looking for your own inflection points. Thank you, Neil.
Right. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Stop this. 10:59.
You're better than I would have guessed.
We're going to keep that in. We're still recording.
The information contained in this recording is provided as is for educational and informational purposes only and should not serve as the basis for any trading or investing decisions. Flex Networks makes no representation and disclaims all express, implied, and statutory warranties of any kind to any viewer, listener, or third party. Neither Flex Networks nor any of its affiliates make any endorsement of any particular company, security, product, or financial strategy, and nothing contained in this recording should be construed as investment advice. Investors should undertake their own due diligence and carefully evaluate companies before investing.